Hi everyone, good afternoon. How are you? Good? Yeah? Good? Okay. Welcome to the 5th workshop of the thematic day. And as you know, the topic of this workshop is environmental issues. And we will particularly focus this afternoon on 2 ways to address these issues. And we talked a bit about this morning during the panel, but also during the previous workshops, about interdisciplinarity and participatory approaches. So we talk a lot about this afternoon. We think these are interesting ways of dealing with these crucial issues. However, it requires innovation, even a rethinking or reframing of education, because we know that currently school programs, if we take the formal systems, are fragmented according to separate disciplines and do not leave enough room for participatory approaches. So we'll see this afternoon how we can change this classic model. We will have the pleasure to listen to the contributions of 3 organizations or initiatives: SA4D, Swiss Academy for Development, Andrea Wynistorf and Luise Schurian-Dabrowska; Terre des Hommes Suisse with Anahy, Gajardo, Arnaldo, Serna, Horacio, Augstburger and Helen, Alvarez. Anahy is here and the other colleagues are online. And we will have an initiative, 1 Million Youth Exchange Challenge with Mathias Baridon. Just to tell you, but you experienced this this morning, this will be an interactive workshop. You will have contributions, but we will have also sharings of experience during this workshop. Our goal by the end of the workshop is to propose recommendations. You did it this morning with the other workshop, but also this afternoon. We need recommendations, but specifically on this question we are asking how to address environmental issues through interdisciplinary and participatory approaches. And as you know, these recommendations will feed into the manifesto we mentioned this morning. So, to get to know each other better, we'd like to ask you 3 questions. So once again, but now you are familiar with this, we'll ask you to connect to our slide, even if the link is hidden, but you have the QR code now. And for online participants, you have the link in the chat. So I let you connect to the slides, and then you answer to the first question: in which continents do you work? You have the possibility to answer, to have different answers. Okay. We have Africa, we have Europe, you have Asia, and a bit of America, and a little bit of Oceania. Thank you. So it's interesting to know where you work. It can be interesting for the exchanges this afternoon. Then the second question: what areas of education do you work in? Can be advocacy, curricula design, ICT, pedagogy, classroom practices, teacher education, and other, if we didn't mention the area where you work. Okay, a diversity in this room and also online. So we can see, and it's interesting also for discussion this afternoon, that you work mainly in teacher education, but also related to this in pedagogy, classroom practices, also in curricula design, and a bit advocacy, and a little bit ICT, and maybe other Maybe I can ask to the participants in Bern, what are other, if you have an example of other area that we forget to mention, if someone wants to say something about this. Other, yes? Okay, great, thank you. Extracurricular activities. Thank you very much. And then we have a third question. Give one example of an environmental issue, please. So once again, it can be useful for our discussions this afternoon because we'll talk about environmental issues. Okay, so we have pollution, deforestation, desertification, waste management, ocean acidification, soil degradation, global warming, water, air quality, indigenous protection, and so on and so on. I cannot see the rest. Okay, great. Okay, so probably we will deal with all this issue, some of these issues this afternoon. And finally, not on the slides, but if you can put on the paper on your laptop for you, and it's just for yourself, because we will discuss about this afternoon, what is for you interdisciplinarity and what is for you participatory approaches. So just for yourself, 1 minute, if you can write the definition. Okay, thank you very much for answering to the question. So it will help for the discussion this afternoon. And now we will have the contributions of 3 organizations or initiatives working on the topic of environmental issues and also on the topic of interdisciplinarity and participatory approaches. And we will start with the contribution of Terre des Hommes Suisse. And we have with us Anahy Gajardo, who is in Bern. And online we have Arnaldo, Serna, Horacio, Augstburger, and Helen, Alvarez. Please, Anahy.
Good morning, good afternoon. This intervention will be held in French, and I would like, first of all, introduce myself. I am Anahy Gajardo, specialist in sustainable intervention, and I work in Geneva. And online today with us, we have Horacio Augstburger. I can see him, who is in charge of the educational program in Bolivia. And then during the second part of this workshop, we will talk together with Arnaldo Serna, who is our contact point in charge of the educational aspects for South America. And right now he's in Lima, so South America. And Helen, I would like to mention her because she contributed to this project. She's a journalist. She lives in South America, and she hugely contributed in the project we're going to talk about. So she cannot be with us today, but I just would like to thank her. And I also would like to thank all the families, all the children taking part into our project and contributing to give life again to this project that we are about to talk about. I also would like to ask you if you know what the project pedagogy is. So raise your hand if so. Okay, 3 or 4 people, a little bit more. This is really good. So how can we talk? How can we talk about environmental issues and this type of approaches from an interdisciplinary point of view? This is the question that is at the heart of this workshop, and this is the question that we will try to answer thanks to our presentation. And in order to do that, I would like to invite you all to have a little virtual and educational journey to Bolivia, to Cochabamba, in order to meet our colleague, Horacio Augstburger. I just would like to see him on the screen, if it is possible. And Horacio will talk about a specific project where children were able to learn the basics of journalism and decided to carry out to create some articles concerning some environmental issues that they care about. So I'm going to become right now an eco-journalist. I just need like a couple of minutes in order to get in that mindset. Okay, so can you please share the next slide? Thank you. No, the next one. Okay, great. So Horacio, good morning. Can you hear us? Yes, I can hear you. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Horacio, for being here with us. I know that it is pretty early in Cochabamba where you are at the moment. So right now on the screen, I can see the picture of a little girl. This is a fantastic picture taken by Carmen Barrantes, one of our colleagues working in South America. And we can see this little girl holding a very huge, big camera. And when I first saw this picture, I wondered, why is this girl holding such a big camera? So Horacio, you took part into this project. Maybe can you please tell us something about this little girl? Who is she and what is she doing with that big camera? Yes, thank you very much, Anahy. So on this picture, we can see Darine. Darine is a little girl living in the southern region to Cochabamba. It is a region in which the living situation is quite difficult. She lives in a household with 13 other people, and she took part into our eco-journalist project in 2022. And she was trained by us. She took part into our training lasting 2 weekends concerning the eco-journalist project, and she decided to create a photo reportage about what we were doing. And that's what she's doing in these pictures. She's trying to take some pictures for this purpose, for this project, because what she wanted to focus on is the fact that in a lot of villages there is a severe lack of water. This is because the water grid is pretty ancient, it's pretty old, and this leads to a lack of water, and also the fact that people need to pay for water that is lost, let's say, in that grid. What was really important for us working with her and teaching those topics to her is that she has never lost her smile. She's a fantastic girl full of energy. Thank you very much, Horacio. Can we please move to the next slide? Okay, this is a little bit more difficult picture to understand. I can see a specific type of environment, of context, and I can see a person. So we can read that this picture was taken by a little girl aged 12. So Horacio, can you please tell us what that girl wanted to tell us through this picture? So what is the story behind this picture? Well, this picture was shot by Anahy. She's aged 12, as you can see here on the screen. And this is the remaining of a small river. So when Anahy's family went to that river in order to grab some water or to wash something or carry out other activities, they were in a different valley, not the Cochabamba Valley, but another valley like 30 minutes away from Cochabamba. And in that location, there is a great problem, a huge problem concerning water access. So I totally agree with you when you say that this is a very remarkable picture, because in the because of climate change and also a terrible condition of water grid, actually the river is not present anymore, has completely disappeared over time. So this is because of the climate change. When it rains cats and dogs. It rains really hard, but actually the soils and the lands are so dry that they cannot retain water, that they cannot stop water. And so the river has completely disappeared. And apart from that, there is also another problem, that is to say that water tankers take all the remaining water in order to sell it. So the families living in the nearby villages have no more access to water from the river, and they are obliged to pay in order to have water. And they have to pay huge prices in order to get water. This is the main context that we wanted to convey through the picture, that Anahy, this little girl, wanted to convey through this picture. So climate change, the fact that water is missing, and this causes huge problems for her and her family. So in here we can see the link with the climate change and also some difficulties from the economic and social point of view. This is what Anahy tried to convey through this picture. This is really good. And then we can move to the third picture. Thank you. So in this picture, we can see a little boy reading what seems to be a newspaper. So Horacio, can you please tell us what this child is reading and who this child is? So in this picture, we can see Leonardo. Leonardo is reading the newspaper. This is called the Página 7, and it is a local national newspaper, and he's reading the same the news about, and the article about the photo shoot that he took. So this is an article that was published together with some other young eco-journalist articles in this very important national newspaper. And the following question is, how were we able to get to this goal? Yes, exactly. This was my next question. How were you able to get to this important goal? Because I mean, it is really good that young kids and young teenagers, let's say, were able to publish their articles and their pictures in such an important newspaper. Well, first of all, I would like to say that we need to take into consideration several aspects that are really important. Here in Bolivia, it was really easy actually for us to work with children and with kids. We decided to create an interdisciplinary group also together with some local journalists that had a huge experience actually in that field, and they were in there in order to support the group, the rest of the team. One of them has always worked in topics related to the environment, and the other one in totally different fields. And actually, during the entire workshop, during the entire project, the real focus was children and kids. The kids were in charge on taking the pictures, of writing the articles, and we were just in charge to publish them. So it was a really good approach, actually, and children were able to learn something from us, from the adults, but the adults were able to learn a lot from children and the way they decided to work and to behave. And we were also able to give them the possibility to develop 5 fundamental skills. And now I'm going to explain them to you so that we can also create some links with the entire process of the workshop. So first of all, they are going to develop some systemic analysis competencies and skills, because during the first part of the workshop, they needed to think about new questions. They needed to understand the fact that the society and the environment cannot be split, cannot be separated, because we cannot remove the societies from the rest, from our planet, and vice versa. So the two spheres, the social one and the environmental one, are fundamental, and they are interconnected. So they can understand that all those elements, all those aspects are always interconnected. And this is what they can learn also through videos and activities that we organize. And then another fundamental aspect is the critical analysis, critical thought. This is fundamental because children and kids in such an interconnected context, they need to be able to identify a subject, a topic that they want to deal with. And they can develop this critical thought because they are faced to different types of topics. For example, some of them focus on the contamination of mining activities, and a lot of the parents of those children work in those mines. So they needed to think in a critical, objective way, but they also needed to pay attention to the ethical aspect. Actually, the ethical aspect is the following skill that they were able to develop. So they needed to pay attention to how to ask a question, how to ask those questions, also focusing on the rights of people and the rights of children. So we carried out some specific activities in order to make them learn the children's rights and kids' rights. And then we have the action. The children were able to get out in the world, to really face problems and issues. And they were able to carry out those activities thanks to a specific permission, a specific certificate saying that they were children working in the press industry, and that all those activities were fundamental for them in order to keep on learning and keep on growing. So being on field was really important for them. And the last aspect is participation. So kids and children were responsible for their job, were personally responsible for their job. So they were the ones choosing the topic to analyze and write about. They were the ones taking the pictures. They were the ones writing the articles. They were the ones asking for the publication of their articles and photos on such an important newspaper. And we also collect all the different photo reportage that we organize, that we create every year, and we collect them in a specific document. Thank you very much, Horacio. I also would like to address myself to our public, and I also would like to invite you to turn into eco-journalists as well, so that you can ask some questions to Horacio. And actually, during the second part of our workshop, you will also have the possibility to meet Arnaldo, that will talk about the educational aspect of our project. So thank you very much again, Horacio, for your participation and for supporting us in this project, for working with the children and with their families, of course. If you wanted to come back for the second part of the meeting that will be online, feel free to do that.
Merci beaucoup. Thanks a lot, Anahy and your colleagues, specifically Horacio. Now, Andrea Wynistorf and Luise Schurian-Dabrowska from the Swiss Academy for Development will present their activities related to environmental issues. Please, Andrea and Luise.
Hello, everyone. I was already presented, but I would like to say that Luise is over there. So, oops. Yeah. So in our contribution, it's all about movement and play-based learning. We don't have really time to go into this approach, but I still would like to mention a few reasons why we use it a lot or as our main method at SA4D. Movement and play-based learning breaks the sitting rule and thus makes learning more fun. It responds to the human instinct to play and reflects the need of child and youth development. It allows holistic and multisensory learning through active involvement of the human being as a whole, including body, mind, heart, within their natural and social environment. If applied in a structured and purposeful way, it enables reaching academic objectives and at the same time enabling social and emotional learning and physical well-being. Integrated in holistic approach, it's a good way to equip youth and children to become agents of change for sustainable development. Next. For us at SA4D, we have a specific focus on sport for development. We use sport for development in our project since almost 2 decades, and therefore belong to the pioneers of this approach that is today a little more widely used, from grassroots organizations around the globe to INGOs and some organizations of the UN, especially UNHCR, but also UNESCO or UNICEF. It's still a niche approach, though. Next. Specifically focusing on learning, we apply it in early childhood development, in non-formal education, for example, awareness building and lifelong learning in refugee camps, but also provide teacher trainings on play-based education, extracurricular activities, for example, sport and play-based, holistic psychosocial approach with schools in South Sudan, etc. And we use it for education for sustainable development and peace, including entrepreneurship programs. So I brought this here. This is an entrepreneurship green skill project, which we had 2012 till 2017, and now build on this with more programs. Part of it, the greening strategy part, is currently upscaled by the ILO in the Andean regions, which is nice for us because we are a small NGO. But today we would like to really more focus on the play-based side of our approach. Next. So we give you a glimpse. We don't have time to do one game, but we give you a glimpse into how it could look like. So I prepared this demonstration plot. That could be, next. Just to say that now Luise is going with the online participants somewhere else into the sphere in an online activity, and we stay with this playground. It's kind of a mix of specifically environmental education using sport and games, as well as profound manuals on play-based early childhood development. This is really just an example of a game, of several games actually, on, for example, learning on the spheres. This can be children who discover the spheres, but it can even be, we have even a game for youth in refugee camps where this is kind of a fireball, only looking at the spheres, like a baseball. And whenever two teams
Are there difficulties, issues on a daily basis when they want to teach about environmental issues? So I hope these interviews will help you to have another vision maybe of some problems when we want to teach about environmental issues. So you can launch the video, please. Thank you.
I am Rabia from Turkey. I am a English teacher at campus secondary school. I work with the secondary students.
My name is Yvonne. I come from Malawi. I do teach geography.
My name is Norzaihan Mazin, but you can just call me Anne. I'm from Malaysia, and I am a lecturer for interior design department.
Sustainable Development Goals has been integrated into the curriculum in our school for 3 years.
It's not a new topic. In other words, the subjects have been integrated maybe to form one subject, because on our curriculum matrix, we have a lot of subjects that are being offered. So some of the subjects like social and development studies, it has been integrated, making it to one subject. But on the part of geography, it has been sustainable development from maybe primary school up to secondary school. So for instance, we have issues such as natural resource management, about the climate change. We have the ecosystem. All these have been there, classical topics that have been there in the curriculum. So it's not a new concept at all.
To be frank, actually, we don't have a specific subjects or topics within the syllabus in regards to the Sustainable Development Goals. But what we are trying to do now is we are remaking the content of the syllabus to integrate the component of the Sustainable Development Goals into what we are going to learn. So if I could say that we don't have any like specific topics or subject just for SDG, which is, I think we are trying to look into it now.
Actually, as you know that, as in every country, there are some problems in our country, like the gender equality, or maybe some economical things between the students. But the government is working to find some solution about these issues. As you know that in our country, in like this, our country has these similar things, but we try to solve them.
We teach about deforestation. We should not cut down the trees. But as I'm a teacher, I cannot afford renewable sources of energy. Why? We have mega salaries. I cannot buy an electrical appliances in order to cook. So the next thing I tell the learners, don't cut down the trees. When I go home, I cut down a tree in order to make fire for my food. So we are doing rhetoric speeches, and we are acting differently. That's the main challenge.
For the past decades, Malaysia only been hit by the flood like only during the monsoon period. But now it's like even to be specific, in the city of the Kuala Lumpur and Malaysia, which is the main city for the Malaysia itself, almost every month they will be facing the flash flood caused by the climate change. So I believe by using these scenarios, it will be easier to teach or to increase the awareness among the Malaysians on the impact of the climate change to the environment. Because previously, when we are talking about climate change, they cannot relate because they never experienced. But now they know that something is happening even within the Malaysian, and they are accepting the fact that Malaysia also currently being impacted by the climate change.
Okay, I think the most important thing of the teacher's requirements to have a good command of the subject, and teachers do their jobs willingly. Because I believe that any breakdown without relations, without doesn't want anything, we cannot reach these strong results.
I don't know in the other countries, but in Malawi, learners take a teacher as a role model, as an exemplary. So what we should do is that the teachers need to have first a good salary. Because if that teacher has a good salary and you are not cutting down trees, you are doing things that are sustainable. In that way, learners can copy that. But what do? We do opposite of what we are saying. We are preaching in the classroom situation.
But I would like to give just 3 examples about that to provide individual support to a student. If this student has a special situation, encourage to the activities that we can do in the classroom, maybe. And maybe to provide the support to the students in hard conditions.
There should be strategic partnership. I really appreciate that. I have known you through Future Life Now. Future Life Now told us that you have a platform where you upload activities that are done by the youth. In that way, if our youth, maybe they look into those things like 1 million youth challenge action, they could be able to admire, and maybe it could motivate them to act in the same way on the environmental management.
For Malaysia itself, if we want to revamp or if we want to revise the whole syllabus, if it takes years, because we have a lot of paperwork and procedures to be made. So, but we know that the thing is, the climate change cannot wait. The climate actions need to be done, regardless whatever happens now. So what we do is we have within our institute, we have a special task, which is we encourage the students to join these community works or projects. So what they do is they will try to, we will try to propose a project that can help for the climate educations. So that one is easy because we build ourselves, we propose the project ourselves, and we do ourselves. So by doing this, we don't have any constraint or anybody to stop us to involve our students and also the educators also to be a part of the climate actions programs that we created ourselves. So while waiting for the formal education system to be revised to include the specific SDGs or climate educations, we can try to do our own by making it through the informal sections like that, you know. I think OneMia provide a very simple and accessible of tools, which is by just sharing the link of the OneMia, the website, they can see there's tons of lists to do the challenge. You know, you can make it from the most simple one, and then you can develop into a more complex, and also there's opportunity for you to create your own, and then you can add in the challenge list. So this is what I'm trying to do with my team in here with the students, that we will try with the basics one, and then while we are trying the challenge, while we are doing the challenge, we also will try to create a new challenge. So this is the what we are doing now. We start from the easiest one, and then we try to develop new ones so that at least we can contribute to the new actions. Because maybe when we are looking into the context of our field, which is construction industries, there might be a more challenge that we can add among the construction industries, so that even though publics cannot do, but among the construction players, they can do the challenge. So this is what we are trying to do now, so that the challenge can be continuous to every disciplines and also to every sectors.
Well, here it is. Thank you for watching. Hope it was useful for you to watch that. And thank you very much to Yvonne, Rabia, and Anne to have answered quite kindly to my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mathias, for this initiative. So the time has come to share experiences. And now we will have 3 groups according to the 3 contributions, Terre des Hommes, SA4D, and 1 Million Youth Action Challenge. And so we will have one online group with Terre des Hommes, because the colleagues are online. We'll have 2 groups here in Bern, one with SA4D and the other with 1 Million Action. Each group will share during 30 minutes their experiences related to the contributions topic. And then the idea, as you know, is to propose recommendations for our manifesto. And the main question, but it can be more specific in the group, but the main question, once again, for the recommendations is how to address environmental issues through interdisciplinarity and participatory-innovative approaches. The recommendations should be written like this. Each stakeholder, please do for SDG 4.7. The recommendation should be like this. In each group, you will have someone taking note, so that's a good point. And you have to know that after the group session, we will come back together, and you need to have a reporter in each group that will briefly present the recommendation. So think about it when you do the session. In each group session, you will have specific rules. So the moderator of the activity will present what will be exactly the activities. Okay, sorry, I know you had interesting discussions, but now it's time for the break, so we should have the conclusion of this workshop. I know in the workshop with Terre des Hommes, they had no time to have recommendations, but in you have some recommendations? Okay. So I will ask to the reporter in each group to say very quickly a few words about recommendations. So we'll start with Arnaldo, is that right? Arnaldo, are you online? Yes? Yes. Please, quick words about your recommendations.
Jess, can you hear me?
Tu m'entendais?
Oui, très bien.
Thank you.
Ah, super, merci. Donc, je vais dire 10 recommandations. La première, c'est pour les autorités éducatives de flexibiliser le curriculum.
And then
et les deuxième, je crois qu'il vient de la réflexion partagée,
c'est de renforcer la capacité pédagogique des teachers and the tutors.
Merci beaucoup, Arnaldo. On va bien prendre ça en note. We will take it in note for the closing session. Now we have the group with SA4D, and I think Luise will be the reporter. Yeah?
Yes, so we had a very interesting discussion, which focused a lot, I would say, about the actors on the ground, and we had some recommendations for NGOs. It was said that they should observe how local stakeholders tackle the issue, that they should provide technical support and then scale up. There was also a general recommendation to the north to also tackle our own issues, which are quite vast environmental issues for sure, and to be a role model on environment and how to deal with it. And general recommendations which would go for everyone. Number one being that everyone should be aware of the limits, also systemic limits. For example, teachers, as it was also said in the video, teachers can teach, but if the resources are not there, if the system does not provide it, is not enough. And also to listen to children because they know the environment very well, and to be a bit more child-focused. This is also a recommendation for all the stakeholders. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Luise, and to your group. And finally, Romeo.
Thank you. So our group had 3 recommendations. The first one, educational institutions, please create platforms to track and record experiences and projects on ESD, like e-portfolios. The second recommendation was schools, please teach transformative skills and soft skills. And the third one, national education policies, please involve children in the curriculum design from the beginning.
Thank you very much for this recommendation. So we'll take the time to write all the recommendations on our slides. The next slide, please. Okay, I would like to thank everyone here for your participation to the workshop, especially Terre des Hommes Suisse, all the colleagues from Terre des Hommes Suisse, SA4D, Andrea, Luise, and 1 Million Youth Action Challenge. Mathias, thank you for your contribution. Thank you to everyone for your inputs on this issue, environmental issue, and specifically how to address environmental issues through interdisciplinarity and participatory approach. I recommend you to follow the RECI activities, but probably you are a lot of you are members of RECI, but specifically the Teacher Training for Quality Education Working Group, because many members who contributed to this workshop are part of this working group. So RECI has a new website. Do not hesitate to follow their activities, but also you can join us to the activities of this wonderful working group. So now it is time for a small break. So you can go back to the room for the break, and then we will have the closing session in a few minutes. Thank you very much for your participation.